afternoon, NOSA community. Good afternoon. I am coming in again this week. I talked a little bit Thursday, so I am talking again now. So good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for hanging out with me. When you come in, let us know where you're from. So I decided to do something different today, which is one, I'm doing 2 Facebook Lives in the same week, but we're actually doing it on different topics. So if you haven't gotten the chance to check out the previous live, go ahead back to our Facebook group or our Facebook business page, and it's on there now. And then if you want to jump onto this live, feel free to do that as well. And definitely jump in and let us know where you're from. Tell us about your agency. Share a little bit. So to get us started, I'm going to, of course, welcome all our new members. Thanks for hanging out with us. We're glad you're here. And feel free to ask questions. So the Facebook Lives are, or do the best when we interact. So that's what I'm here to do. I try to do it at different times as we have different representation in our groups and on our page from different states. So I switched it up a little bit, which is why we're doing it here at a little bit before 2. So I'll stay on here till about 3 o'clock. And then if you have questions after the live, you can go ahead and tag #replay and drop your question, and I'll answer your question in the comments. So don't feel like you have to be on this particular live to participate. You can participate later or when time allows. So thank you guys. So I'm gonna give everybody an opportunity to get on, and then we are going to get started. So it is Thursday. We are officially at our 10-day mark, 7-day mark for NOSACon, and we're excited, guys. So I did want to drop this for those who might be watching. We have a couple of people who are selling their tickets. So if you're interested, you can reach out to me and I can connect you to those people. So there's just like a couple of tickets out there. We have not reopened tickets, so that's not the case, but you can connect with people who can't make it but would like to resell their tickets directly. So if you're looking for tickets, let us know. And as we go into future NOSACons, we'll take all that type of stuff into consideration to pick a time that's most accommodating. As I know, as you guys already know, I know for many of you guys, it's back to school, so that's a big deal. But for some of us, at least some of us in the Northeast, we're not yet back to school. So it's so funny how every state, much like every state in staffing, goes back to school at a different time. So here where I am, we're not back at school yet. We go back to school like right before Labor Day here. So nonetheless, welcome. Again, I'm happy for all the kids that are starting school, going back to school, all the parents that are kind of re-upping on this journey of back to school, which is always nice, because then as business owners, we may or may not, or maybe should, have a little bit more free time to focus on our business. So for all the parents who are taking their kids back to school, that should give you an extra 6 hours or so to really focus in and hone on your business. And I definitely encourage you to do just that. So let's get started. I'm going to do one more post, one more tag, and then we'll get going. I am doing this here on our, let's see. I'm doing it here on our business page because it just allows me to share that, share that post across different platforms. So that's essentially the purpose why we are doing a few more posts like this on our business page and not the Facebook group. But you should see me in the Facebook group. If I'm not correct, you should see me in the Facebook group, and then of course you should see any comments that we have. So we do have comments at the bottom. And like I said last time, guys, honestly, it's not an Instagram live unless there are challenges. So I'm going to post this right quick and then we can get started. Our 3 topics today are going to be about organizational structure, which I kind of touched on Tuesday, and then we're also going to talk about how to manage your social media, or like what types of different platforms you can use to manage your social media. And then finally, finally we're going to talk a little bit about mindset, just because this time of year is really good to kind of do some shifts for yourself as an agency owner and kind of re-energize yourself as far as mindset. And for those who are attending, NosaCon will have an actual breakout session about mindset. So, all right, so I got all that taken care of. Thank you guys for being patient. So let's get talking and chatting. Oh no. Oh, it wasn't one thing, it's another. Okay. So let's start, as I did last time, with the topic that I think is probably the most popular topic and one that impacts NOSAs the most. And it might be a tie, so I'm going to start with social media. So since we're on social media, let's go ahead and get started there. Let's get started there. So how to manage social media, or systems that I use or that others may use to manage social media. So when you think about social media, I'm really talking about all the platforms, but what I'm going to start with is what's out there that's already free. And then I'll chime into some other options that might be, might have a cost associated with it that might be an option as well. So one of the social media platforms, at least for those that are on Facebook and Instagram, that's already out there, that's free, and it's actually come quite a long way, is Facebook Creator or Meta Creator. And what that is it allows you to Meta Creator allows you to golly, this is really wearing me down with these comments. Okay, so Meta Creator allows you to do what a lot of us need to do as solo business owners, which is schedule out posts, see how those posts are doing, engage with potential applicants or clients, and kind of sit it down and move on. So what that looks like is Meta Creator is similar to a lot of other platforms where you can schedule out your posts, all of your posts, to as far in advance as you want to. I think probably 2019 is when I was sharing I would take like a Sunday for like 2 hours and do just that. So I use Meta Creator to actually do the posts, which allows you to post not only on Facebook but also on Instagram. And then I use Canva, the free version, to actually generate the posts. So we have in our store on the nosagroup.com 365 calendar, so that you don't even have to come up with the ideas of what to post. We actually set it up for 365 days of what you could be posting about. And I thankfully have seen a lot of NOSAs kind of follow that trend where you're doing employee spotlights, you're talking about health, Nurses Weekend or CAA Week or Nurse Practitioner Week, you're talking about those things. So you're not just wanting to post things just about finding jobs and filling jobs versus kind of your overall community. If there's things happening with regards to weather or any sort of healthcare related types of activities, you want to post that too, because you want to be an informational resource that people follow to not only get job opportunities, but to also be able to get updates with regards to what's happening in their communities that they live in or communities that they may want to go in. So Facebook Creator, hands down, is probably one of the major tools that I use the most. Hey, Taria. And it's helped me to kind of stay organized. And like I said, guys, I would take 2 hours. It's something that I think when it comes to doing social media posts, you have to be like at the library or at a quiet space or a closed office. It's something that if you really take the 2 hours, you can really knock out a quarter. If you're following like a social media calendar that kind of says, hey, talk about healthy eating habits, like as you go into the first of the year, talk about, new goals, new aspirations, vision boards, those types of things are very common. Some other things are resolutions, Happy New Year's, holidays, taking care of yourself during the holidays. Those are all types of topics that you can cover. And Canva's done a great job, like I said, of expanding the amount of content that's on there and things that you can use. As a Canva person who uses Canva, I've been able to start with the free version, and then I have gone into the paid version because I have a team kind of working on it. And you can identify brand colors so that way when you do posts, you're not doing, one post is red, white, and blue, the other one is black and white, the other one is yellow and pink. You want to provide the consistency. So Canva has that feature. They have the feature of adding teams, so you don't have to have 2 separate accounts. For any team member that might be working with you, they can work under your team and see any edits or posts that you've done in the past. And then they also, which I think earlier this year it came out, they also have their own calendar that you can use as well. So I haven't used it. I think it's of benefit, but I haven't used it because we use another platform. So like the freest and the best is to use Facebook Creator for Facebook and Instagram. Whether you're doing videos, shorts, reels, all of that, they're a great resource. And then they also kind of show you how those posts do. For some of the other platforms like LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, you guys help me out. What are some other popular platforms? LinkedIn, Twitter, and TikTok are kind of where I'll say at. You may have to get another system or get a bigger system that encompasses all of it. What we decided to do last year was actually do that. So we initially posted on Facebook Creator, and then now we post through Thrive, which is a third-party company that allows us to hit Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn all at the same time. And I tell people you have to think about, like, when you're kind of building up with regards to purchasing more product for your business, you want to think about, like, how effective is it? So it was 100% effective for me because it gave me back those 2 hours I was spending every month participating in that activity. So it's not something that you have to start out doing, but there's also lots of other platforms like SocialBee. I think some of your very popular CRMs have a social media element in it or as an add-on. So there's lots of them out there. But if you're just getting started, meaning you haven't quite been in business for 3 years, I would stick with the basics and then just really set aside the time. So set aside the time, whether it be, 2 years, 2 months here, or 2 hours here. So every quarter I'm going to spend 2 hours a month taking care of that. Or if, you want a team to come together, or if you want to follow some sort of format that kind of helps you stay on schedule. And I wouldn't even be against the idea of, which is what our team will do this month, schedule out for the rest of the year. You can always add posts, so it doesn't matter that you have it scheduled. You can always add, delete, edit posts before they go out. So it's always a great thing to do that. So Terry, I hope that answers your question. That's what I use. So I use initially Facebook Creator for Facebook and Instagram, and then I did the posts, which I've admitted that I wasn't very consistent when it came to LinkedIn and Twitter. So I did those posts in that same time frame that I would do Instagram and Facebook. And then for YouTube, that's something different, or Google, that's something different. That's kind of how I did it. I set aside the time, and then those posts would be maybe quarterly is what I aim to do, or at least minimum monthly. So that 2 hours either allowed me to post out for the entire quarter or for the rest of the month. So like we're ending August. August is going by so fast. So as we're ending August, I would have traditionally this month, this weekend, set aside 2 hours to do the social media for the rest of September. So some topics that I would probably cover in September is, of course, back to school. So for us, we go back to school at the end of August, beginning of September. I would cover topics around Labor Day, kind of a restart or re-energizing yourself, because now you're not like in summer mode. You're in the mode of back to school, the change of weather. Fall would definitely be a post that I would include. So all those are typically posts that I include in addition to things around, specific to the business, job openings. Hey, are you looking? Do you want to go ahead and secure your 13-week contract? Come hang out in the Southeast in the summer, all those types of posts as well. So, and the nice part is with Canva or other platforms, I use Canva, you don't really have to think hard. You can just search and they'll come up with different ideas for you. So, Terry says, yeah, we are definitely not consistent when it comes to posting. We are trying to get better with our social media marketing branding. Yeah, you have to be on social media. And with social media, because it is a little bit time consuming, I didn't outsource it initially until I kind of had a handle over what the message I want to send and what it means to be a part of the NOSA group and things of that nature, so that when you add someone on to kind of take responsibility for that, they're continuing that messaging, because there's nothing worse than putting in the time and kind of getting consistent and putting it out there and then passing it on to someone else that kind of posts things that don't mesh with the brand. So I would encourage you over the weekends or during the day, take out 2 hours, especially this month, drop into Facebook Creator and really create the post. And you don't have to really, rack your brain to kind of say, oh, well, I just gave you guys 5 posts to do. Labor Day, back to school, re-energizing yourself, welcome to fall. Hey, hello, September. Those are all good posts to put up there that are pretty generic. And, in between those time periods, you can post other, business specific things like, hey, we're hiring, secure your contract in the fall. This is what we have open. Give us a call. Why don't you complete your application now? Those types of posts, who we are, what we do types of posts in between. So that'll save you a lot of time. So I hope that answers your question, Taria. And then, when it comes to outsourcing social media, like I said, don't typically do it initially, but it's definitely a function that can be outsourced. And just because you outsource it, so like my social media is mostly outsourced, it doesn't mean that you yourself can't post as well. So like any post that you see of me or different things, many times it's me doing the post because I want to share, a moment, or I want to share information with my community. So you're always welcome to post in between any scheduled posts that you have. So don't just kind of say, oh, they're already scheduled, I'm not going to worry about that, versus, hey, I look at the posts that are scheduled for my pages all the time. Sometimes it's on point, sometimes it needs to be corrected, but for the most part, thinking about what you want your brand to represent, what types of followers you want, because that's always a challenge, because you don't want people who aren't interested, a whole bunch of people who aren't interested following you. And then if you've done a little bit, that consistency really will help you increase the following and, of course, get you more engagement. You're welcome. The next topic is about organizational structure. So organizational structure and social media were kind of most popular topics, but I think it's time to have the conversation, because fall for me is always invigorating and energizing. Because one, it's getting cooler, finally. But also, I am a fall baby, winter baby, so I love when it just gets just a little bit cooler, not ready for winter yet, to do that. So in theme with that, I think reorganization or organizational structure is important. So what do I mean when I talk about organizational structure? One, it's not to say that it has to be the structure that you have in place currently. So many of us have two people as their organizational structure. Me and the payroll person, me and the scheduler, and that's it. So what I'm really speaking about is the optimal, the ultimate, the most ideal organizational structure for your business, and it's something that you can grow towards. So as I mentioned, if you've been in business for less than 3 years, and maybe you haven't been able to structure your organization where there's an operational manager, a CEO, a CFO, a scheduler, an administrative type, a human resources and compliance type, now is the time to really create that as a visual for yourself. So you want to kind of think about the people that you need versus the people that you want. So in your initial organizational structure, you always want to have the people that you need. And an example of a need would be like a scheduler. And the only exception I can think about, and y'all can kind of tell me otherwise, would be if you only do contracts. So if you only do travel contracts or local contracts, you probably won't need a scheduler necessarily. But if you do a mix of both, which I think is the case for many of us, it's important to actually have that role. So like that's a vital role. Another position that would be a vital role would be a operational manager type. That's a vital role. And that isn't to say that you can't be that person, but in creating the structure is kind of creating who does what, who reports to who, so that when your employees or applicants connect with you, you can direct them to a person. So like, for instance, you could be directed to me as the CEO, and you could be directed to me as the operations manager, but someone else handles the payroll or someone else handles the scheduling. So it's not to say that you can't serve two dual roles, but it's more to say that you should ensure that there's clear lines as to what that role does. So, of course, we'll start at the top, and all of us know the CEO, the founder, the creator, that person or co-CEO, if that's how you have it set up, is always kind of the visionary, the person that started the business in many cases, the person that kind of sets the tone for the organization as a whole. So that's where we would start. What you title it is it's up to you. Most people call themselves CEOs or founders, depending on what that is. And under that, then you want to kind of get to the operational side of things. And I tell people in my journey with healthcare staffing, there was two sides of operations. But the person that served the role as an operational manager, VP, person needed to understand both sides. So in our instance, I was an operational person. So I needed to understand the clinical side of things. And then I also needed to understand the business operational side of things as well. Some things that person would do would be like kind of managing the clinical and operational side of things and the people under it. But it could also include like business development, sales and marketing types of things, and a little bit of the recruitment and retention internally. So this wouldn't be employees working out in the field. This would be your internal employees. The next role that I think would be key is a CFO or accountant type role. And that's someone who's looking at your books on a regular basis. It could even be a bookkeeper, but someone who's looking at your books on a regular basis to make sure that taxes are paid, insurances are taken care of, everything that makes the business compliant is taken into account, and they can discuss with you if you're hitting specific or different financial goals. So I think for that role, that person should, one, specialize in it and have extensive experience, but it doesn't have to be an accountant. A lot of people have accounting experience but aren't necessarily an accountant, but that's something that I think is crucial. And then after that kind of second layer, you go down to more of your frontline layers, which would include your compliance people, your human resources, payroll processing person, and in many instances, human resources and payroll can go hand in hand. I've seen it done in many situations. It works. It just needs to be someone who has, you know, that type of experience. A lot of the roles with human resources falls into payroll and benefits and things of that nature. So having that person be one person isn't a bad idea. The next piece would be, or the next role I would think would be like a compliance person, like somebody who handles your compliance and credentialing of your applicants, who can kind of move them through the process from their initial application to getting started. They can be the frontline person also for facilities to contact if there's issues around compliance for your employees. So that's important. That's something that moves a lot, that's very time sensitive. They can be the contact for account managers for different systems around that. If you're using a system, getting results, making calls, following up. So that role is really key, because you want to always have someone on top of that if it's not something that you can manage. The next one would be your administrative support. And really this role is always hard to define, because it can be a couple of different types of scenarios. It can be a virtual person, it could be someone in person, it could be full-time, part-time. A lot of it's based on the needs of your particular organization and how you guys work. So that's not really something that I would clearly define, but of course that individual will do a lot of your administrative tasks. They may even be the first point of contact for recruitment, so that person can do a little bit of that. So I tell people doing like a coordinator position for that is nice, because then they can do little bits and pieces of all the roles, but more in a support capacity. So they can support compliance, they can support human resources, they can support accounting and operations, but not in the full scope of that position, versus it being more of a support role, so that as employees come back and maybe have questions about compliance, they can answer some basic questions, but if it's more in depth, it can be referred to the next person. And then of course, like I mentioned earlier on, the scheduler role, and in that role it needs to be someone who is an excellent communicator, because that can make or break opportunities, and someone who is extremely organized. Hopefully now that we're moving more and more to incorporating technology into our businesses, that person shouldn't be inundated with work. I definitely would hope that more and more facilities and potential clients are incorporating technology on their side of things. But for the one or two clients that aren't, having a scheduler manage that, especially if you're doing a lot of per diem, is really key. It can make or break your business. It can be the reason that you're getting phone calls at 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning versus otherwise. And people who have experience in that usually are good and organized, and people who can communicate well. So that's an important feature. So that's just some of the roles that I think are important when you talk about organizational structure. I do understand everyone that early on you may not afford to have people in those roles, and I totally get it. But not having something in place is different than not putting people in those places. So you can have an organizational structure and maybe just have that top level where CEO, CFO, and business operations manager, and sometimes they're the same person. But you want to have a clear, defined role and space for them in your organization as you grow, as your business grows and you make more money, so that you can kind of just slot the person in, so that you're not looking and thinking and saying, oh, I need somebody to help with marketing, when you maybe just need a social media manager, or I need somebody to help me scheduling. Oh, you might just need to get a system. So you want to really think and define those roles earlier on, so that 5 years you're like, okay, second quarter 2023 we're going to bring on this, or we're going to hire this, and you kind of planned and accounted for that person in your business. So okay, and you guys can ask questions. I think we have a couple people on here, but feel free to ask questions, anyone. Thanks for the stars, Taria. The other thing and last topic was about, our last and final topic, guys. I lost my way for the moment. Oh my gosh. Facebook is always doing this to me. The last and final topic was on mindset. And as you can see, Shamika has just a little bit has lost her mind. One, I have to say, putting together a conference is probably more work than people realize. So, getting enough sleep and preparing and all the moving pieces. I'm excited. We're, like I said, 7 days away, but the process, the last year that we put in has kept me more than busy. So, mindset. And I see these posts in the group, and I usually maybe comment or like them around how you can trick yourself out of not doing well in your business, or how you need to stay motivated. And a big part of mindset, or having a mindset shift, in my opinion, is around who your circle is. So going into starting a healthcare staffing agency, you may not have the same circle or be as connected to your same circle as you did when you started. Support is key. Having a supportive community outside of the NOSA group is key. And I know a lot of NOSAs are each other's accountability partners and connect with each other offline. Because unfortunately, for most of us, we don't get to put the rest of our lives on hold to operate and start this business. The rest of our lives are continuing. Any struggles, setbacks, hurdles will continue in our journey in starting the business. So it's important to think through, as you get started, who are the people in your lives currently that maybe need to shift as far as their priority, and who are the ones that are supporting your journey and making this happen and believing in you. It's not an easy thing to do, but shifting in life happens, and many times the thing that's holding you back is just that. So it's sometimes the person, but sometimes it's the situation. And what I've seen is many times for people that have struggled for, a year to 18 months, it was their circle. I talk about it, and hopefully at some point this year we'll get a chance to do it, where I discussed and was fairly candid about a day in my life, and that a day in my life as a NOSA isn't less stress than working on the floor. It's actually more stress, and it's different types of stress. But because I love it, I do it anyway. No different than, picking up the extra shift, or, kind of setting a goal, any sort of financial goal or educational or professional goal. It doesn't come easy. So when I worked on the floor and I worked my 12-hour night shift, or whatever, mid-shift, day shift, overnight shift, I've done them all, or weekends, that came with its own sacrifices. Working as a business owner, I work all the time. You guys see me here. I worked 16-hour days. So I shifted from working a floor job, 12-hour days, to working a business, 16-hour days. But the reward for me was that I was able to have more flexibility in the areas that I wanted, but that wasn't something that I had early on. So when people say, well, why did you get started? Well, I wanted financial freedom. I wanted flexibility. I wanted to determine, what success meant for me, or even being able to, make a difference in my industry. Those are all favorable and totally great reasons to start. The difference is, in your first year, that's not what that looks like. You may not have financial freedom. If anything, your finances might be heavily tied up. You may not have the work flexibility. You may work, like I said earlier, 16-hour days now. You may not have been able to make the impact, because a lot of times people don't know I wouldn't say about the NOSA community, but don't know about the NOSAs that are around them. And part of that is that you guys aren't on social media. So you have to go where your audience hangs out, which is social media. And then, you want to make a difference or create generational wealth. Those are all great things, but that's not something that happens immediately. And many times that's not something that happens the first couple of years. So that's why I use the 3-year mark. So like right around the 3-year mark is where you'll start to see some of the, okay, I can breathe now. Okay, I don't have to be up at 1 o'clock in the morning taking calls or fielding, situations or, interacting with, applicants or employees that are on, the West Coast, and I live on the East Coast. So over time you'll get there, but it's a process, and it comes with having a good foundation, having a plan, like a business plan is key, so that you can kind of say, hey, let me look at what I'm doing to see why I'm not where I'm supposed to be. If you started your agency however many years ago, or if it's over a year and you're not where you want to be, look at your plan. Look at what you're doing. Look at what you're not doing. And that's going to usually give you the answer as to why you're in the place that you're in. And also support systems, family support systems are key and important. A lot of NOSAs get their family involved in their business. They make it a whole family affair. And that's a good thing, because then it shifts some of the burden and responsibility, because if you have, 20-year-olds, teenagers, those are great resources to help you with social media. And they can get a couple bucks. Also, if you have, a partner or spouse who's good at accounting or good at IT, those are great opportunities to incorporate that individual into your business. So when I think and talk about mindset, I'm just not talking about like thinking good and feeling good, which are important. But I'm talking about like that whole picture. Like, what does your ultimate agency look like? Like, what would it be doing? What would you be doing in it? And then also, some other things that have been helpful to me is meditating. So I meditate, kind of clearing your mind of the clutter. And part of that is kind of unpacking what we've traditionally learned as nurses. So as nurses, we get on the shift and we take all this information in, and then we kind of run and do our day. As business owners, you kind of have to take a moment, take a step back, meditate if that's something that you are into, and really be more focused on task to completion. Focused on, the big picture of your organization or business. Hyper focused on getting the results that you want at the end of the quarter or at the end of the year. So shifting that mindset can take some time, but those are key things. Shifting the mindset of, hey, as a nurse, you knew the rules, you knew what you could do, you knew what you couldn't do. As a business owner, you have to create those rules, of course, under the umbrella of whatever state and federal laws you have, but you have to do a lot of creating. So you don't have as many parameters to work within. So that's why having structure, like an organizational structure, a business plan, as well as being organized as an individual is key. Without that, you will struggle. One of the things that I'll say as I wrap up here with you guys is that I know today what I have planned for tomorrow. And given sometimes those plans don't happen, trust me, I know all about that. I already have an idea. I have a flow of my weeks. I have a day that I market. I have a day that I talk to clients. I have a day that I talk to applicants. And part of the reason, or a couple of days if I'm, trying to fill something. And a couple of the reasons that I have that is because otherwise my day would be constantly chaotic. So I have a day that I do social media. I have a day that I do financial stuff. And if you're somebody where you're like, oh, well, Shanika, I can't dedicate a whole day, that's understandable. But dedicate the time. say, hey, on Mondays, I'm going to do marketing. I'm going to do all my marketing calls from 10 to 2 or 10 to 12. So creating order for yourself in that way releases a lot of the chaos that being in the early stages of starting your business can create. So I hope that was helpful to you guys. Like I said, I see in the group, so many posts, and I appreciate them about, hey, stay on track, don't give up, keep pushing, just in case you needed to know, I see success in your world or in your life. You're doing an amazing job. So I appreciate those posts from you guys, because I know the struggle is 100% real, and I also know that the path was not easy, and I am even still learning as of probably the last couple of years how to do it better. So being open to learning too is important. So like, I've become more intentional about meditating, because you have no idea how easily I can be distracted, especially since COVID. I think COVID kind of brought down a different way of working at home. So you feel more confined than you actually feel at work. So kind of restructuring my week, redoing my office, as you can see, and we're going to redo it again. That kind of helps with being someone who works 24/7 at home. Also, I talked about, kind of mixing it up with the hotels by day, where if it's something important like NosaCon, or if you're doing a job fair or anything like that, that you can spend a little bit of money to get the clarity, peace, and quiet that you need to complete the assignment. If you're doing a request for proposal for a state or federal contract, for sure, go away and do it. We work office space, also offers conference room time. So there's a lot of different options. So kind of incorporating that in your day-to-day business would benefit you, especially for those of us who are in the house. Even if you have dedicated space, being in the house can be challenging. And then the other thing would be to incorporate systems and tools and resources that might help you. So one of the things that I incorporated, and shout out to Dee Marie, is Trello. Ooh, excuse me. Trello is a system that works for me to help me work with my virtual assistant. And I'm able to list out the task, for the week. And then, we meet and kind of discuss them, get any questions answered. And then that allows those things, one, to be taken off my plate, but also to get updates when they're completed or if any questions about it. So, any sort of Trello, Monday is similar. There's so many different platforms that allows you to work with teams virtually. Teams is another one, so that you can stay engaged even though that person isn't physically in the office with you. And if you guys have any tips on working from home, if you're someone who works from home like myself, kind of permanently at this stage, how you kind of manage some of the monotonous of being at home, because I can sit for a long time, but trust me, it's not a good feeling when you get up. So kind of some things that you do to kind of break it up. I worked outside a little bit here at the house. I've of course changed my office several times, and I've also done the hotels by day, which is something that I will continue to do, especially for like big projects, so that I can just get it done without any distractions. So if you guys have any tips or things that you do, let us know. As always, thanks for being a part of the community. We are ready. We are ready. We're 7 days away from NosaCon, August 19th through the 21st, and we are packed here. You can't tell, but we're packed and we're ready. And thanks to all the supporters, even those who can't attend, thanks for supporting our efforts and putting together NosaCon. It's been a whole year, probably closer to 11 months, but a whole year of preparation and getting things together to put on the conference. As I mentioned before, we'll know after the conference if we'll do something on the West Coast, as I know we have many NOSAs out there. But in the meantime, we will be traveling a little bit, and we'll be at TribeCon in Vegas. We'll also be at Staffing World in Vegas. It will also be at SIA, the Healthcare Summit in Houston. So, and that's kind of nice because Houston was one of the other locations that everybody wanted to have NOSACON at. So, as always, if you have any questions or you have any topics, because I won't come back this weekend, but I will come back on Tuesday, feel free to share. We can definitely talk about it, chat about it. I'll give my take, my insight. You know, I'm definitely always open to you all's experiences as well. So thanks again, and I will be chatting with you.